Five Nights at Freddy's has been going strong for the past 11 years, since its first game all the way back in 2014. It's come a long way from its low-budget indie horror roots, and now with the newest installment of the franchise here, Secret of the Mimic. To this day, I still think the original is the best, and FNAF 4 is the scariest, so I'm curious to see where the newest game will rank among the rest here. Welcome back to an episode of Horror Quest, where we embark on a journey to find the best and scariest horror games. And you know what? We're just gonna jump right in. No need to delay any of this. So, without further ado, my name is Josh, and I hope you enjoy. The game begins with us driving sleepily towards our destination. Your name is Arnold, and you're an employee of Fazbear's Entertainment. If I'm being honest, the scariest thing about this game is the callous incompetence and douchebaggery of the management over Arnold.
You can't fool me, though. You're just trying to snag one of those $25 gift certificates at the end of the year for outstanding performance.
What? No, I'm doing it because you guys keep threatening to dock my pay and repo my truck.
I love that enthusiasm. So
it's a common theme here that the company is comedically bad at treating their employees. But you know what? Hey, he might get a gift card at the end of the year, so you know what? It's all worth it. Your mission is to retrieve important property from a contractor known as Edwin Murray. You're given a data diver to help navigate the facility. This is where the game takes place, at Murray's Costume Manor. The front door is, of course, locked, so we have to loop around to enter the client and deliveries entrance. When we enter, we're greeted by the intercom to announce Murray's little showcase of his work and inventions. Think of it as like a glorified sales pitch for any buyers. The first thing I noticed was this super creepy bee on the wall. I gotta tell you, not a fan. It seemed familiar, but I couldn't figure out what it reminded me of exactly, and it wasn't until about halfway through my playthrough that I realized this kind of looks like the pesky bee from Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared episode 3. Do you guys remember that? Anyways, when we enter through, the show begins.
The workshop where you'll quite simply be amazed!
It's weird, I grew up with shows similar to this kind of vibe, and you know what, it was kind of wholesome for me. I really liked it, although I could do without the Sheriff Piggy with a giant mustache. Before the show ends, the entire set malfunctions, so for now, we have to go a different direction. Using your data diver, you can access the main entrance to the warehouse. The setting is decorated with unused animatronics and storage bins. The lights are dim and the silence is pretty loud. This would be a perfect setting for something to scare you in, but the game just started. Nothing scary for a moment, I'm afraid. You start up the generator and enter the security office, where your jerkwad of an employer awaits you on the microphone. He warns you that there's movement happening inside the building, of course, and what's worse is that he knows exactly what it is. One of Edwin Murray's most creative inventions with homicidal glitches, you know, the usual, an endoskeleton that can mimic the frame of other animatronics, their persona, and more. Something just to be aware of. Now, our immediate goal is to upgrade our data diver to security access. Throughout the game, you'll be upgrading your data diver to access higher levels of authority, which in turn lets you access different doors around the facility. You start with basic and work your way up to executive, because only with executive access is how you can retrieve the property that belongs to Fazbear's Entertainment. Secret of the Mimic has a few minigames to handle upgrading your data diver or fixing power generators. I think this works great. They could have easily just let you upgrade the thing, but putting a minigame in place adds some diversity to the gameplay. With security access, you can leave the office and explore the warehouse to find the power room. You can unlock the main generator, and this is one of the main puzzles in the game, where you have to connect these tubes together from point A to point B in order to get the power back on. I love puzzles like this, especially under the pressure of something chasing you, which does happen much later. For now, the game is taking things slow, so you can learn the mechanics and get a feel for the game. Using my big brain, I solved this puzzle in under a minute. With the power back on, we receive more instructions from our employer. The important property that we're trying to get back is none other than the schematics for Murray's Mimic. We don't know why he wants it, but we have no say in the matter. It's our job.
I can just smell that $25 gift certificate, can't you?
Using the tool machine, it's mostly used for gathering collectibles, we can grab a crank and use it to gain access to the main hallway where another upgrade station awaits us. Yeah, well, now that you know all the mechanics, the game wastes no time in introducing their first animatronic to chase you down, which is a goofy-looking elephant. You know, I'll be honest, I'm not really fond of most animatronic designs in the game. They're just not scary enough for me. Oh, well, Josh, are you expecting them to be dripping blood from their mouths, torn apart from the rims, and rusting from age with exaggerated expressions? I mean, yeah, kinda. I think their designs are too clean for a horror game. I said earlier that the little show they performed was kinda wholesome because most of the designs aren't too far off from real-life animatronics that are, you know, made for kids. The design of the original cast was similar, but they still had that uncanny appearance to them, and in the right environment, say a dark pizzeria, it worked. Here, I just don't see it. Don't get me wrong, some of them are great, which we'll see very shortly. But for the most part, especially the unnamed animatronics, I didn't really like them all that much. Now, gameplay-wise, that's a different story. Murray's Manor is a more constricted area from, say, Security Breach. You're not in a huge mall anymore, you're in a smaller building filled with so much junk and tight passages. This makes the enemy's presence way more intense and noticeable here. When they get close, their thundering footsteps shake the screen, and they make disturbing guttural noises looking for you. The scariest part is how fast they are. If you're spotted 8 times out of 10, I would say, you're just caught. Only in very specific cases can you lose them, but that rarely happened for me. Once inside, you can take the elevator up and find the upgrade station. Congratulations, you now have repairman access. Also, I noticed a weird bug here. There's a small corner in the room where the ambient noise just completely disappears. If anything, it's a good reminder how far ambience goes in a horror game. I just wanted to point it out, is all. Next to that office is a broken down wall leading to a dark room with a giant present. As much as I know this is a bad idea, we need that crank handle. Meet Jackie, the first main antagonist of the game. I thought for sure she would pull a Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 on us and disappear when we're not looking, but you know what, she doesn't do that, and I'm okay with it. One of the few animatronics that I thought to be a perfect fit for the game, and decently scary enough when put in the right light. However, when we enter the office past the gate, we find the scariest animatronic in the entire game.
Your method of delivery. Welcome, new user. Back to work.
Listen, I've played many horror games in my time, but this is where I cross the line. However, the real scare happens when Jackie catches up to us. She detaches herself from the box and slowly closes in on Arnold, until one of the funniest scenes in the entire game happens. I was on a good heavy chuckle when I first played through this part. It may not be scary, but it's definitely a memorable moment. We fall through the support beams in the wall and wake up underneath the ground. I like how Arnold wakes up in a standing position. What occurs is a great build-up scene where Jackie is constantly stalking you from just outside her reach. You know a chase scene is about to happen, but when is a completely different story. Once you take the lift up is when the chase scene begins. Of course, knowing me, I didn't realize I was walking until she jump scared me. I've been a huge fan of chase scenes in horror games since I started playing horror games, and I think Secret of the Mimic does it quite well. With Jackie, she adds amazing tension by stretching her arms past the player, making it look like she's about to catch up, or wrap her arms around you. It makes for a great chase scene, even if, practically, it makes zero sense. If she can stretch her arms past Arnold, why not use her arms to, I don't know, grab him? There were a couple of moments like this where the main antagonist should have caught up, but Jackie was my biggest head scratcher. The second part of the chase is finding the switch to open the gates while crawling beneath the floorboards. Jackie's relentless though. Even a gate closing down on her won't dampen her murderous tendencies, so you have to escape through the vents. You wake up back at the security office. Don't ask me how we got here, because the game does not explain it. We can assume, though, that at the very least, that she won't be bothering us again, based on the Steam achievement. Our employer gives us even more information about the Mimic, who apparently was created to entertain Murray's son while he worked. Now that we have repairman access, we can actually go back to the opening showroom and fix it, so we can finally entering. It's a huge showcase of Murray's animatronics, including the pesky bee. We need to fix the elevator. In order to do this, we need to retrieve the audio tape that tells us how to fix it. Doing repairs like this is another common quote-unquote puzzle this game has, and I put quotations around it because it's not really a puzzle. It's more so like a small array of tasks, and once you fix it, you can use the elevator to reach the big top showroom. Once you grab a ticket, a giant hand peers from out the curtains, asking for said ticket. When you give it to him, you're introduced to, who I call, the Ticket Man. Very similar to the DJ from Security Breach, but you know what, I'm not complaining, I love his design. Like most carnival games, our spin earns us nothing, but there are a variety of games we can play to win another free spin. Again, I like it when games take a break from the main appeal to serve us some fun mini-games, and it works very well for Five Nights at Freddy's. Here we have the classic target practice, knocking clown teeth out, and space shooters, or whatever this is, I don't know. However, you can't expect the showroom to be all fun and games, because after each game, the power will go out. The Ticket Man will turn hostile, and if you're spotted, it's a game over. You have to slowly crawl through the random assortment of mannequins to reach the same power generator that opened the showroom to begin with. This resets the room basically, but the Ticket Man will slowly crawl towards you and murder you if you don't finish the puzzle in time. What does suck is that the mannequins will shout out one-liners if you so much as graze them. So you have to be really careful during this segment. On your third attempt, you finally win the grand prize. Your reward is a most valuable customer trophy, and the Ticket Man escaping his constraints. We found the next upgrade system, and now you have creator access. However, the Ticket Man soon catches up to us. It's a race to reach the bottom. You find an open door and quickly go down the hallway, the Ticket Man blocking most of your escape routes. Much like Jackie, you're forced to crawl underneath the floor while the Ticket Man smashes through the top, forcing you to avoid his giant hands. You run through a crowd of mannequins before the Ticket Man finally corners you. When he's about to kill Arnold, his weight forces the catwalk to collapse. Arnold is safe, for now. The Ticket Man is no longer a threat, indicated by the Steam achievement. Your employer contacts you shortly after and says he's found another upgrade system. Our next destination, against our will, is the Demonstration Theater. Normally, horror games or any game in general put their best foot forward to keep the player playing, but sometimes they lose steam near the middle or the end of your journey. Secret of the Mimic, I think, does a good job of keeping me entertained throughout the entire experience, because what comes next is one of my favorite parts of the game. In order for us to access the Demonstration Theater, we need a director's suit. The lift up to the theater will not activate without said suit. So in the nearby workshop, we must collect the head, arms, and legs to assemble everything together. I'm sure you're aware by now that the game won't make it easy for you. Numerous animatronics will activate to patrol the surrounding area as you collect each piece. Now, Secret of the Mimic gives you an item to help combat the animatronics, the wind-up mice, a classic tool of distraction. You'll find these mice all around the workshop that you can use to lure animatronics away or distract them while collecting the pieces for the suit. Overall, I think it was a really fun section. I had zero issues with how it was handled or designed. Once you have the entire suit, you're ready to put it on and head up to the show platform. You even get a gun with a cute squishy octopus on it. Unfortunately, there's some debris in your path, so there's a few puzzles in place you need to solve first. You can exit the suit and navigate the surroundings to find a lift that can move around the separate walkways. Look, I don't know if I'm the biggest dunderhead in the world, but I didn't find out until like 10 minutes later that you can actually pick up the freaking walkways. The game doesn't tell you this, there's no controls listed, but maybe that's because it's so obvious the game doesn't think it needs to tell you. Either way, this took way longer than it should have. But you have to reorganize the catwalk so you can walk across. There are chains on the other side that can lower the big platform in the middle so you can walk across in your suit. What follows is an actually pretty sweet scene of Foxy's pirate ship. A small play made for the children, I think. When it comes to a horror game, you can certainly balance moments like this with some truly horrific scenes, but Secret of the Mimic doesn't really do that. It has more unserious moments than it should that diminishes the horror qualities. I wish it was a bit more serious. However, Shooting the targets, pretty fun. Even though I'm on PC, I use a controller, but for this section, because I'm a sweaty tryhard, I used my mouse to hit more targets. I still suck though. As the play continues, the whole room comes crashing down periodically. Again, something that I thought to be pretty funny was Foxy's character fell on the floor and just kept on saying his voice lines. The screen fades to black and we wake up with a new soon-to-be enemy, Nurse Dollie. She doesn't recognize us as a threat yet because all she sees is the captain. Once she leaves, we escape but are soon trapped in another one of Murray's showcases, featuring Dollie herself. Dollie's main function is to repair and recycle parts of Murray's operation and animatronics. Ironically, because this game takes place before any of the other games in the entire series, recycling was a term coined by Murray, and started here with Dollie. Of course, in real life, recycling became mainstream in like the 1930s, but this is a video game, it's not real, so whatever. How about an unnecessary jump scare? When we finally enter the doll hospital, Dollie starts to stalk us like the great stalker enemy she is. First off, I like the doll hospital. I think it's a great setting for Dollie and just like a horror game in general, especially for Five Nights at Freddy's. Unlike Jackie and the Ticket Man, she's an actual standard enemy that provides great tension throughout her chapter in the adventure. Still, her design could be better for me personally from a horror game perspective. And look, it's not because of my preference, actually the opposite. I hate dolls and antique figurines. They give me like the heebie-jeebies. I freaking hate them. It's just that Secret of the Mimic doesn't set up its enemies to be all that scary. Why is that exactly? It's hard for me to explain because the actual gameplay is scary, but the supporting factors, the lighting, their designs, the atmosphere, it doesn't work for me. I'm sure some of you find that this is the scariest FNAF game out there, and you're entitled to your opinion. Maybe it's because I've already played so many better games with stalker enemies like Resident Evil or Outlast with actual terrifying designs, and they also have very disturbing lore, that this doesn't really move the needle for me. Even then, I know and I understand that this is not what they were going for. What they were going for is perhaps a more lighthearted horror adventure for someone who is more of a novice to pick up. Okay, rant over. Sorry about that. But in this section, we need to fill up all the different chutes with recyclable parts scattered around the hospital. Having an objective to accomplish while something is trying to find you is scary. You never know when the enemy will be around that corner or if they're near your last objective point. Trust me, it happens more often than you think. Inside the hospital, though, is yet another upgrade system, the admin upgrade. With that, we can activate the chutes and enter the maintenance tunnel. However, Dollie is here too. You need to use the levers to push her down into a pit of molten recyclable parts. Notice how I didn't get the Steam achievement. It's not over yet. Our goal now is to escape. We can use our new admin protocol to enter the power core section of the facility. When we take the elevator down, our nurse friend surprises us with an impromptu checkup. Other than the surprise factor, it's a simple chase scene otherwise. Just follow the straightforward path, enter through the vents, and escape through the factory. Finally, we're safe from Nurse Dollie. Okay, well, never mind. Out of all the enemies in the game, Nurse Dollie here has a sixth sense for some reason and can detect you even if you're hiding. You have to play this part very slowly. You can't even stand up and walk without her finding you. It actually took me a good handful of attempts to finally get past her, and I finally found the elevator. I had a feeling that once I got to the elevator, she was going to magically appear behind me right before I closed the door, and I was right. The elevator jams and you have to do another elevator fix similar to what you did before, although there's one additional component to this part.
Hey Ryder, there's too much weight in the elevator.
You now have to fix the elevator by increasing its strength. Doing so will carry the elevator at high speeds until it smashes Dollie at the top. It's finally over, indicated by the Steam achievement. You're finally back at the security office where your employer contacts you yet again and drops this bombshell of a revelation.
Finally, you have access to the admin wing. That's where Murray's office is located, and most importantly, the schematics. The best way to the admin wing is through the warehouse. That's the big room you've been standing in front of all night. You can see it through that window. Guess you should have gone there first. But hindsight is 20/20, right?
The whole time, and I know it's just a game, but that kind of pissed me off. In a good way, I felt Arnold's pain here. We are nearing the end of the game, but not before one interesting surprise. This, apparently, is the beta design for Chica, which made me realize, for a Five Nights at Freddy's game, the entire original cast hasn't been seen yet. Yes, we now have Chica, and she'll be our main antagonist for the rest of the game, but I kinda wish the game revealed the original crew sooner. And no, Foxy doesn't count during the kids show. There's a power generator nearby, but it's missing a few key pieces to fully solve it. Throughout the entire room, you'll find the missing pieces and have to assemble the generator to complete the puzzle. Outside the admin wing, you get an interesting visitor. This is Tiger Rock. He's a special animatronic that you'll see later, but for now, he's the leading suspense towards the final act. Inside the admin wing, we finally gain executive access. Now we can enter Murray's personal office. You can even snoop around and check the financial logs, and you realize that Murray is in critical debt, even with all his supposed success. There's a special option below where we can access the surveillance room. It has cameras all around the costume manor, but what's more important are the mimic's blueprints. But down below, there's an additional videotape of Murray.
Stop. You're not him. You're not. Stop sounding like him.
We don't know exactly what the context here is, but that will make sense later. For now, we have a bigger problem at hand. This is the quote-unquote final boss battle. I mean, I'm used to Elden Ring type boss fights, but this is acceptable. You have to stand under the light posts to avoid Tiger Rock from getting you. They periodically turn on and off, leading you further into the dark maze-like room. Not gonna lie, this part kinda sucked. He's sorta like a weeping angel, but not. He can teleport around, which does add a nice twist, but as long as you're underneath a light, he doesn't harm you from my understanding. It's just confusing is all. After a couple of tries, I figured it out and found a little star boy thing. Okay, I'm not gonna ask any more questions, but this is your safety light essentially. As long as you're holding it and don't run into Tiger Rock, you're good. The second part of this encounter involves navigating through tight corridors and finding the different Star Boys. You follow arrows through the dark hallways where Tiger Rock will stalk you from the shadows, or I guess, right in front of you. This is easily the most terrifying part of the entire game. Tiger Rock is erratic and you can't fully comprehend his patterns, making him quite the intense encounter. After the final Star Boy, you find the exit and enter the security office one last time. Your employer is practically giddy with excitement as you have what he's been looking for this entire game. You deliver the data diver and exit through the garage, finally leaving Murray's costume manor. And that's our happy ending. At least, that's what I thought until this happened. It was the Mimic this whole time. He's been disguising himself as your employer, leading you into the manor, guiding you through the facility, and tricking you into giving him the Mimic blueprints. Now, I am not well versed in the FNAF lore, but I know that many people are complaining that the lore doesn't really make sense. Personally, I think the Mimic is a pretty bad antagonist. It doesn't have any character or personality, which is ironic, I know, because its whole reason for existing was to mimic other animatronics. Its backstory is actually really good though, and we'll talk about that in a second. I found the original cast or William Afton to be solid villains for the franchise, and I don't know, maybe it's just personal preference, but the Mimic doesn't really do it for me. This is the canonical ending, because there's actually a few other endings you can get if you pay attention to the details. From the beginning of the game, when you launch the Helper application, there's a parachute.exe option that you can't access until you receive executive access, which is at the very end of the game. Doing so unlocks a secret compartment inside the security office. Arnold disobeys his orders and continues down a path of discovering the truth. You enter the showroom again, but now there's a special button in the center. When heading down, an old friend returns. The Ticket Man. You have to pull down the malfunctioning levers to reach the bottom while he chases you. If you succeed, you'll reach a secret part of the building, where Murray's more secret projects took place. Behind this curtain, you can find an eerily familiar setup. If you can't tell, it's the OG FNAF game's show stage and dining area. Honestly, one of the coolest moments in the game for me. Of course, you can't expect this secret area to not have an animatronic chase you down. And look at that, it's prototype Bonnie, I think. I'm not really sure. Still, its design is pretty good. I like it. I'm gonna speed things up here because what you're really after is the secret ending. Following the OG FNAF puzzle, you hear a new voice beckoning you inside. The voice is none other than this weird, mysterious, giant supercomputer.
Head to the main house and activate the communications sub-terminal. I have a message for him. We must convince him to repair M2. That is all that I want. If you do not, M2 will never stop pursuing you. Tell Edwin, I still love him.
After that last line, we can deduce that this might be Edwin's wife. She's been stuffed inside this computer for reasons we don't know yet. It's kind of scary that AI now is so advanced, it makes you wonder how far this is from our reality. Riding our way to the house, we get a quick summary of Murray's financial state, and again, it's pretty bad. We're in serious debt and have 22 court summons. We don't know if this happened after or before Murray abandoned his costume manor. The house has one of the best puzzles in the game. The most crucial piece to this entire story is this picture with the name David on it. David is the name of Murray's son, and you have to find numerous videotapes that display a number and must insert those numbers corresponding with the colors on the photo. Each tape reveals more of Murray's past and obsession with his work. The first tapes are happy and hopeful, but soon turn disturbing, especially with the mother. It seems that the mother passed away at some point, and Murray, destroyed by grief, used the mimic to create his wife to fill that void. The subtle way the tapes reveal that is pretty good. It starts with her voice, then the reveal of the animatronic fully in view. When you have the full code, you can unlock the door upstairs, and see that this is Edwin's personal computer, with a secret compartment of course. You can now run Cradle.exe, but the mimic is not far behind. It's no longer trying to hide behind anything. No tricks, just trying to kill you. You have to escape quickly. The entire building is coming down and the mimic is in hot pursuit of Arnold. You can get on another ride that leads directly to the exit and leave unscathed. Sorta. Yeah, so the secret ending is basically the same as the basic ending. The mimic still wins and takes the blueprints for himself. I mean, talk about a depressing ending. However, there's a couple more endings that you can get in the game. One that I think makes the most sense is you can actually get back in your vehicle and drive off. Arnold basically quitting Fazbear Entertainment and surviving. To me, that's the real ending in my mind. The other ending is inside Murray's house, except now you get access to David's room. It's unclear what exactly happened to him, but after his mother died, David also died, most likely in a car crash. This is what I think to be the real secret of the mimic. Now, I'm not done yet. There's two mimics. One was Edwin's wife, the other a failed corrupted form of David. There's a couple of recordings you can find that hint towards this notion. Edwin being upset how the first time with his wife worked, but now with David it doesn't. This is because David has possessed the Tiger Rock suit, which is why during his boss fight he has sort of supernatural powers. So unless he can figure out how Soul Drain works from Yu-Gi-Oh!, there's no fixing that. This corrupted mimic is the real monster that's been chasing us this whole time. Your employer hints that you can potentially stop the mimic and even recover it for them. This is what happens in this ending. You essentially soothe the mimic with a bedtime story, and eventually, it turns into a docile form. It's David. Edwin's project sorta worked, but the violent nature was the predominant feature for such a long time. Using the data diver, we can change the mimic into a quote-unquote David. He finally rests in his bed, and that's how the game ends. This is truly the end of FNAF Secret of the Mimic. Overall, I liked the game, but for its price and horror factor, it just wasn't worth it. This game is about 4 hours in length and costed $40. In comparison, Elden Ring Night Rain was the same price, and I have about 50 hours into the game. Hades 2, $30. And I have about 70 hours. I'm cherry picking here, I know, but I was hoping for the game to be just a bit longer. If I were you, I would wait for a sale because you're not really missing much. Lore-wise, again, I don't know too much, but I find the story behind the mimics to be tragic yet a great tale. A man who couldn't handle his grief creates intelligent machines to replace his lost family, but one of them goes rogue. It's a good plot. But what I'm here for mainly is the scare factor, as this is an episode of Horror Quest. And of course, the plot does attribute to that. But look, there are tons of phenomenal horror games out there. There's one on my list that I'm going to be playing soon that I know for a fact will make this game look like a book for children to learn their ABCs. If you want to watch a video I did on a great horror game already, check out my Fear and Hunger video. That one's insane. But Secret of the Mimic is a good novice horror game if you ask me. I have friends from college that have asked me before, what should they play to get into the genre? I would recommend this game. For a horror fanatic like myself, it scratches the surface, but it needs much more to make an actual decent score. When it comes to the spooky scale, Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic gets a score of 4. And that's about it. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm gonna go around my neighborhood and give everyone high fives, and when I'm done, I'll be back in my next video. And if you did enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like and to subscribe for more content like this. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone, and of course, stay safe.